Jeanette, I appreciate you joining me today. For our viewers, my name's Bruce Davenport and you're Jeanette McDaniel. Let's talk about, I think, one of the most important jobs in the world, parenting.
Parenting.
Right. And let's talk about choices and responsibility and how to influence our children to be responsible. What comes to your mind when we think about that?
The first thing I think about is, what are you doing with your children?
Mm-hmm.
Are you doing with them, or are you doing to them and for them?
So what would be some examples of doing with?
Doing with would be doing something that they enjoy doing and doing it with them, or even taking a walk with them, or cooking with them. Anything that puts forth an effort while being together to accomplish something where the children are enjoying it and you are too.
And how about these other things, doing something for them? Is that good or bad?
Well, it's according to what you want. If you want a dependent child, that will always be dependent upon you to do for them, and then when they leave home, they still contact you wanting you to do for them, because dependency breeds resentment and hostility when you're not around there to do for them. So do you want, the question you'd ask, do you want this child to be independent and able to carry on without me and have a successful life?
But how about when they are not doing what we want them to do?
Well, it's according to whether you want them to do it more than they want to do it themselves. And it's also according to whether they are feeling important. And there's just a lot of reasoning and questions you could ask them to self-evaluate. But ask yourself, is what I'm about to do or say going to bring me closer to this child or push us apart? Because if it's going to push you apart and you want something more than they do, even if they want it, they won't give it to you, because that will give them more power and recognition, more control over you.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of these drives that are inside of us, and we've already mentioned that. The importance, number one, of our children feeling like they belong. And that's a drive that is inside of us from birth till death. How important do you think that need to belong is?
Well, I think it's one of the most important of all 5 needs that we're born with, because in order to stay mentally healthy, you have to be connected to someone. And if you're connected, it's important to listen to your children and let them know what they have to say is important to you. And give them the opportunity to share things with you. That'll help them feel like they have some freedom too. And then life will be a lot more fun. And so the need for love and belonging, we all have them, the same need. But some of us have a stronger need for love and belonging than others. So if you as a parent have a high need to be connected and belonging, and your child has maybe a medium need, you're going to want to spend time with them when they'd rather spend that time alone and do other things. But recognizing it's a need that's driving them, you won't take it personal.
How about our need for power?
Well, power breaks up most most relationships.
Mhm.
It's do my way or the highway. But when we talk about power, it's power within, not power over. And it's power with. And so that's why when you're spending time with your child and building a good relationship, it helps them to meet that need for
Yeah.
power, where they'll listen to you when you've been listening to them.
What would you say to a parent that says, this is my house and I'm in control and I have power? What would you
Yeah.
say?
I would say to that parent, is what you're doing and saying working for you? Is it getting what you want from the child? Are you moving closer to the child? Are you able to influence and persuade them to do things with that kind of talk? Maybe it'll work sometimes, but it doesn't work all the time.
And I guess what I'm wondering, when we started this conversation talking about responsibility, especially when we send our kids off to school, we're not around them to be able to influence them.
Well, it's very important that we teach children to be responsible for their choices. And the way we can influence that is by having a good relationship and helping them face reality and see if they're going in the right direction of success and a happy life.
Right. I think of teenagers and that high need for freedom, moving from childhood to adulthood. What do you think about this need for freedom?
I think if you stop and think, most wars are started in the name of freedom. And a lot of times you can have a war going on at home
Right.
with your child because they have the need of freedom that's driving them, and they're getting at the age where they want more freedom. And there's two different types of freedom. Freedom to and freedom from. And let's hope that our children don't choose freedom from us.
Right.
And that when we teach them to be responsible, when they do have freedom, you don't have to sit home and worry about them because you raise them to be responsible
Right.
children, facing the reality of their choices.
One thing probably children and teenagers do a little better than we adults is having fun. But as a parent, though, what do we need to remember
Well,
about this need
there's
for
many
fun?
ways that you can meet your need for fun. And we like to talk about the more you can make learning fun, the more the child's going to learn. And the more you can have fun with your child, the closer you're going to be and the more influence you're going to have with them to help them make good choices.
And our final need for survival.
Well, we're all born with the need for survival, but again, those needs are different levels. And how could you tell if someone had a high need for survival or just a medium need? You take a look at, for myself, I have a medium need because I take a lot of risks. I am scared of heights, but I still go up in hot air balloons and climb bridges and do a lot of things just because it looks like it's fun,
Right.
but it really is a threat to your survival to take this kind of risk. Also, a person with a high need for survival will save their money, since I have a medium need for freedom. If I make it, I spend it.
Right.
Because survival is also security. So when we talk about survival, we think it's just a house and food to eat, and etc. But it really is the security.
And I also think of feeling safe.
Feeling safe. But also now there's something in there with that survival need. They have an urge when they get a certain age
Oh, right, right.
to
Absolutely.
reproduce.
Oh, yeah.
And so that need might be driving them when they get to be teenagers.
Right. So as we think about meeting these needs, what are some good questions as parents to ask ourselves when we think about these needs in dealing with our kids?
I think some questions that's probably the most important is, what do I want with this child? What is my picture that I have in my head of this child in the future? Do I want them to be dependent or independent? Do I want them to obey everything I say or think for themselves? Do I want them to be the one that evaluates their behavior, or do I want to be the one that has them self-evaluate their behaviors when I'm not around? And to ask ourselves, is what I'm about to do or say to this child going to bring me closer to getting what I want,
Right.
or is it going to push me further away?
Yeah. I'm also thinking the challenges of many parents of sometimes being a single parent, which comes to my mind, and also this would be married couples too. Are you taking care of yourself? How important is that as a parent?
Well, the more you take care of yourself, and if you ride in an airplane, you'll hear them say, put the mask on yourself first if you lose oxygen in the cabin. So you'll be able to put the mask on the child.
Right.
So if you don't take care of yourself, ask yourself, is what I'm doing going to help me to be around longer to help this child? Or are they going to have to be helping me?
Right.
So looking at the importance, recognize that you have the same needs as this child.
Right.
But that power need breaks up most relationships.
Right. Okay, well, I appreciate your time, Jeanette, and hopefully this is helpful to parents to be aware of their children's needs and how they can help them meet them themselves, and also making sure the parents take care of their own needs.